Afternoon, everybody. It is Sunday the 1st, 1st of June. January, February, March, April, May, June. Yeah, I lose track of time sometimes. I don't have a calendar directly in front of me, but it's the 1st. It's a new month and everything else. I'm camping presently. It's a little loud out there, so I'm trying to get a little bit of peace while I try to draw these runes for us for this week. I know I didn't get to complete them last week, but the overall energy, it proved to be more than accurate, at least in my case. I've been going through hell, literally. So, I mean, my spirits are up and everything else in spite of it all. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm getting a little tan, so spent a lot of time in water and lots of different places where there's nature, and I play my guitar, so musically I'm able to center myself as well as meditate, and all those things which help us to stay calm and remain centered and grounded when we're going through what doesn't always make sense to us as we're going through it. But in terms of spirituality, what I'm personally going through, and it's not the first one, but it's the most severe one I've had thus far. It's basically the dark night of the soul, if you will, is what it's referred to as, and it really genuinely feels that way. It feels as though almost everybody that you thought you could rely upon has shown that isn't entirely the case, with very few exceptions. Generally speaking, my children have been a godsend for me, and I'm very proud of all of them. I have 4 children. They're all on their own now. I raised them almost single-handedly while fighting against their mother the whole time. It was not a situation I'd wish upon anybody, because it does have an effect. No matter how much you try to shield the children from that kind of a thing, it does affect them. But they're all very well adjusted, doing very successful for themselves, so I'm very proud of all of them. But anyway, like I was saying, going through the dark night of the soul is no picnic for anybody that's ever experienced it. And if you haven't, and you're on a spiritual journey, which I assume you are, or why would you be here, right? Then you will experience it at some point too. It's, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, seemingly anyways, I mean, there may be other perspectives on this, but it's like a way of initiation. It's like showing that you are indeed serious about this journey and doing the right thing, making the right sacrifices, and not giving up when everything around you is falling apart, and even with all of your best efforts and harming nobody, and doing the best you can in this world to make it a better place. There are people who are just simply dead set, fighting against your efforts. It's just the way of the world, man. It's the way that it is. So anyway, like I said, I've been camping for the last week or so. So, it is what it is. It's enjoyable, but you don't really sleep well, when you're camping. It's hard to get comfortable. Me, I've always been a light sleeper, so even the slightest little twig being, stepped upon by, frolicking animal or what have you, and I'm wide awake, ready for battle, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, I know it seems a little neurotic, but it's just who I've always been. I've kind of picked that up mostly in the Marine Corps anyways. And, I'm still here, so I guess there's some good in it too. You don't feel particularly energetic the next day or a whole week of that. It's, let's just say, it makes things interesting. Anyways, I've already done my praying and, my meditating over this. And I'm about to pull the runes for the week, as I did last week. And to recap last week, the overall energy dealt with the journeys. It was a long journey, and it certainly is still carrying on for me and for whoever else is out there. I hope that this will help you to be empowered to work through your trials as well. So as you can tell, I'm doing this in my car. It's a lot quieter than outside right now. There's a lot of children in the background screaming and all that kind of stuff, and I had to get away from it just for a few minutes to get some peace. I mean, here I am in the wilderness, and there's still sometimes it's just not as peaceful as you would like, but it is what it is. And as I was saying, recapping from yesterday, or last week actually, not only was it a long journey, but there was possible future repercussions in terms of maybe legal problems, as well as a situation perhaps with a loved one, or maybe a relationship breakup and so on. So there's a lot going on last week, and it's obviously for somebody else out there. Right now I'm happily single, and I'm enjoying it. I've had my eye on somebody, but you know how it goes. Sometimes you like somebody and they don't like you back, and it's just all, it's life. So, and with that being said, let's get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the first rune. The first rune deals with the actual overall energy of the week. Okay. Now I got to write all this down as we do this as well, so to keep everything organized for me, and then I can recap it tomorrow. So, overall energy for the week, please. Overall energy for the week, and thank you. All right. So we have the rune Sowilo. All right. You write that down. Now, Sowilo stands for the sun. I don't know if in tarot, they do actually have a tarot deck that's made specifically for the runes as well. And the sun typically represents Leo in the the tarot. But Sowilo, has a lot of other meanings as well. I mean, we've seen that in Nazi Germany. They doubled it up for their Nazi party and things of that nature, their SS, right? But what it typically means is victory, power, attack, enlightenment, honor, and life force. So it has an overall very positive, it's a very positive rune. So that's good. We need positivity. Last week, the overall energy was positive as well, Ingwas. So even though we have a lot of trials and tribulations we always have to go through in life, knowing that there is a positive energy overall means that it's for our own edification. We're going to grow from this, okay? So let me write that down. Sowilo. Okay, that's good. It's a good way to start off. All right. So the next energy I'm pulling for is for today, Sunday. Can I get the energy for Sunday, please? Energy for Sunday. Sunday's energy. Thank you. Thank you. Alright. So, we have Othala, but it's in the reverse. This is the letter O in the Norse alphabet. Okay? I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Othala. In the reverse. So, write that down. Now, Othala in the reverse, we had that last week too. Again, it deals with recklessness, frustration, and again, potential legal problems, hassles of some type, even poverty and homelessness. So these types of things are obviously not very positive. So these could be some of the trials and tribulations that some of you out there are going to have to endure, throughout this week, or possibly longer. There's no way of actually determining time in terms of energy. We try to do that in tarot. We try to specify. We try to pull, for example, for a week or a month or whatever the case may be, but that's not necessarily the way the energy works. energy is like a river. It flows, you know, and it does what it does. So, you know, we can ask, and sometimes we can get a reasonable assurance that indeed we got a very, you know, decent idea as to a time frame, but more often than not, that's not always the case. Okay, so I don't want to say that this is only going to be only last for this week. As we can see clearly, last week was dealing with very much the same things. So this could be in your past, this could be what you're presently experiencing, or this could be in your very near future. Okay, it's going to differ from every person who's out there. Every person is different. Everybody's on a different timeline. So even though we have stories that may be similar in nature, I mean, of course, the cast of characters are different, which adds a lot of other variety, you know, to you know, the hodgepodge mixture of you know, this type of endeavor. So, but it is something you can prepare for in advance, or maybe you can start to see signs of as we go further into this. All right, so from Sunday, it is Othala reversed. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to pull for the future, Monday. Okay, can I get an energy for Monday, please? Energy for Monday, thank you. Monday's energy. Alright, so we have Yera. Now that stands for you know, Y in their alphabet. Okay, J or Y actually. It's spelled Jera, but I think they use, you know, the ya versus the ja sound. I'm not really fluent, you know, in speaking it. I can write it fluently, but I can't really speak it fluently, as I haven't really had the, you know, the pronunciation given in every single thing. But in terms of Yera, you know, it's spelled as Jera, but it's actually pronounced Yera. And we had this rune last week as well, by the way. Alright, so Yera in the upright simply means year, harvest, cycles, boons, and that's you know, cycles of the earth, as well as other cycles that, you know, you can put into place in that particular heading. Boon is simply a wish granted, if you will. Legalities again. So again, somebody's definitely either about to have, or has already gone through it, or is potentially going through it right now. So kind of a legal battle, and that could be almost anything. It could be due to a, you know, unfortunately an annulment or a divorce. It could be dealing with your children, for example, you know, custody. It could be dealing with any manner of legality. So wherever it fits in your particular case. But it also means rewards, peace, and commitment. That's in the upright. Now, Yera is one of those runes that you cannot flip up or reverse. You have to go with the energy. And the energy right now that I'm picking up is relatively one of a positive nature. I think that it's a positive energy that we're getting from Yera. However, I'll go ahead and read what the negative energy actually implies. It means seasonal fruition, cannot be rushed, sudden setbacks, reversals, and poverty. And of course, that's obviously not very positive. But again, overall, what I feel is that it's a positive connotation in this particular case. So, Yera is Monday's rune. Okay? And I'll pull an entire runic river on Monday, so that we get a feel for the energy more clearly, you know. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and look at Tuesday. Can I get the energy for Tuesday, please? Tuesday. Tuesday's energy. Thank you. Oh, we got another good one. This one is algas. Okay. All right, so algas in the upright. Let me write it down first. So algas in the upright means basically protection, defense, friendship, soul, and guardianship. So, you know, maybe you are a protector of sorts. You know, of course, as a mother or father, if you have children, you are obviously, by virtue of that, you know, expected to protect your children. You may be trying to protect some type of endeavor that you're doing, whether it's business or elsewhere, you know. So it's an overall positive rune, and it means basically you'll have the energy and the power to defend whatever it is that you're, you know, in the midst of. And again, this could be related also to that legal battle we're talking about that carried over from last week and is manifesting yet again in this week. Remember, there's 24 runes in an entire set, all 3 ayats. And an ayat, to recap, is simply a family or a grouping. It's divided, all 24 runes divided into 3 different families, each family basically overseen by a specific god, and there's many other gods that are denoted in runic within those families as well. They don't have an astrological meaning in the sense that tarot does, whereas astrology plays a big part of it. You can liken certain cards to certain, you know, astrological signs. For example, mine is the Earth Angel as a Sagittarius. You know, so, you know, basically it has to do with, you know, being wise, being intuitive, but also being, you know, scholarly and things of that nature, being close to God, having balanced out both sides of your, you know, yin and yang, for lack of another way of putting it, one that everybody pretty much has at least some idea of what it means. Okay, balance, that's what it means. Typically it's shown in the Rider-Waite deck, for example, as the angel holding up a cup, and that she's pouring into that cup, and the cup overfills so that, you know, they can give to others. You really cannot give to other people without first pouring into your own cup. But you should be able to give to other people. You just have to be very discerning, because not everybody is worthy of that energy. And that was a hard lesson for me. And most empaths have to go through that, because you typically do want to do good. You want to help everybody that you can, you know. Not everybody feels that way, obviously, and there are soulless beings out there, you know, who just, they're like the Agent Smiths in the Matrix kind of a thing. They do exist. You know, and of course in all different areas of spirituality, they have different ways of perceiving all of these things, sure. But, you know, I'm trying to encapsulate these ideals in a way that I think most people will understand, regardless of where they're coming from this. Okay, so let me write down, I already did. Okay, so algas, it's another positive rune. So even though we starting out today wasn't a good rune with Othala in the reverse, but Yara, again, I feel that it was a positive interpretation. I gave you both positive and negative interpretations of that. And then algas in the upright is very positive. So the overall energy of the week is positive. Alright, so let me go ahead and draw for Wednesday. I don't want this to get too long. It takes forever to download. Wednesday energy, please. Wednesday energy, thank you. Alright, so, alright, and this is one of 2 runes that represents the Sagittarius, so to speak. Like I said, they don't have a similar type of astrology. They liken it to the attributes or traits of certain gods. And this one basically is, I saw is about rigidity, frozen, cooling, the things that basically you would imagine during that period of the winter solstice, where it's very cold in some places, especially in, Norway and places like that. It probably knee deep in snow at least. But I saw in the upright means ice, stasis, frozen, frigidity, solid, cooling, focus, and frustration. Now in the negative, since this is yet another, there's 9 runes out of the 24 in which you cannot, it doesn't actually come out upright or reversed. You have to feel the energy. And this energy is generally almost neutral in a sense. I mean, they're almost, well, I can't really say that. There is a negative aspect to it in the let me go ahead and read that. In the negative, it means breach of loyalty. Okay, and I experienced that definitely. Egomania, dullness, blindness, treachery, and deceit. So deception. So it does have a positive and a negative connotation. And again, I'm still feeling that it's relatively positive in this case. So, and again, I get that also backed up by the overall energy of the week. So I'm going to go with my gut feeling on that, and we're going to go ahead and look at that as a positive. So again, in the positive, it just means frozen, frigidity, cooling, focus, frustration. Maybe it is something that you do have to place your focus upon, perhaps that court case, or maybe the relationship issue that we referred to last week as well. It's hard to say, and again, it'll differ with everyone out there. All right, so the next rune we're going to pull for is Thursday. Thursday. Can I get Thursday's energy, please? Thursday's energy. Thank you. All right. Well, that's a good one too. This one is Berkana. This is the letter B in the Norse alphabet, and it looks like a B. Berkana is a positive rune in the upright. So let me write that down. And Berkana is actually, it's found in the third family. I should have actually stated what each one of these runes represents as far as their family goes, just to get you guys up to speed, and you can learn as well as go through the, the actual energy interpretations with me. But Berkana is representative of the birch tree. As I stated last week, we also got this one last week, that many of the trees and herbs, so on, actually may have some type of a spiritual connotation, or even a god or goddess attached to them. The birch tree is overseen by the mother goddess Birchta, and that's only one of a couple of different pronunciations of her name. So it was highly, revered, the birch tree, for many, many reasons, especially within Druidic rites and things of that nature. All right, so what does Berkana actually stand for? Again, it stands for the birch tree, but it also stands for fertility. It stands for new beginnings, healing, birth, and as I've already stated, the Great Mother, Birchka. Okay? So, again, another positive rune, going along very nicely with the overall energy so far. So I haven't been writing these down, but I can come back to that. I don't want to waste any time. So can I get Friday's energy, please? Friday's energy, thank you. Friday's energy, Friday. Alright, so... okay, looks like we got Ingwas again. Ingwas. Looks almost like an hourglass, so to speak. Okay. Now, Ingwas, again, in the upright, is a positive rune. And I'm going to go with the positive interpretation because I haven't gotten a gut feeling at all that it's negative yet. So, now, Ingwas stands for the masculine god, Freyr. and that's basically what his attributes are. It's all about male masculinity. In fact, the statue they have of him shows him with a very large what to basically get the point across. Well, Ing is another name for Freyr. It means male, masculinity, sexuality, the seed, fertility, male fertility, as well as ancestry. So again, each one of these 24 runes also has a magical connotation attached to them, and ingwas can be used to invoke your ancestors. If you don't believe in ancestors, if you don't believe that you can call upon them and so on, first I would invite you to reconsider that perspective. I know that it's something that's usually associated with third world country, indigenous populations, and then it's looked at as being primitive. But I'm telling you, it's not. In many, many ways, it's echoed in many of the other world religions. Perhaps not the Abrahamic faiths, and I concede that, and I do practice, that form of belief as well. I'm very eclectic in my spirituality. I believe that everything is within. I believe heaven itself is within, and Jesus said that no less than 3 different times. That heaven is not somewhere out there; it's actually within you. And I believe that the Norse, they don't necessarily teach it that way. I mean, they believe in Valhalla, which is where the warriors go. If they've performed admirably and things of that nature, the Valkyrie will actually get them upon their death and bring them to Valhalla, where they're going to party it up for eternity, or at least until Ragnarok comes. And Ragnarok is the equivalent of the apocalypse spoken of in the Bible, and very, very similar events as written in the Hindu texts as well. And they all talk about it very similarly as well, as far as the representation of the one who's coming back to right the wrongs. Both in the Norse, Hindu, and the Christian perspective. I believe also in the Quran as well, but I'm not as well versed in that. I don't have it memorized as well, and I've read the Bible many times, front, back, verse by verse, studied it. But anyways, he'll come riding with a white horse and a flaming sword. So we see very similar attributes to the Savior, who's going to come back in the end to right the wrongs. Now, that also may be highly symbolic in a lot of ways too. I don't necessarily believe anybody's going to come back in a physical form per se, or at least not in the sense that we're all expecting it or had expected if you watch any movies on the subject, for example. I believe we create our own heaven and our own hell. Now, I know that other people have an effect on that as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm very much familiar with the effect of other people's decisions, whether they be good or poor, and how they can affect our individual lives. But how we respond to that is our decision. That's kind of what I'm getting at. All right, so this is not a preaching sermon, so let me move on. Forgive me if I'm still trying to figure out my niche, how to do all of this, and, try to get you as much information as I possibly can, and trying to bring parallels here as well, since I look at spirituality from a very well-rounded umbrella. I mean, I've literally studied everything from the ancient Sumerian cuneiform all the way to, well, I guess you could say the Abrahamic faiths are actually the youngest of all of them. Well, except for the things that have evolved out of some of those, Abrahamic faiths. I mean, there's many different sects that come out of Protestantism, for example. But, I read all the books, in Catholicism and everything else. They have their added 15 books and so on. And, I've read all the Gnostic texts. I'm going to reread them so I can become more deeply familiarized with them. As well as, of course, like I said, if you will, the canonized version, the 66 books that they had picked, in the Council of Nicaea. But again, I want to remind, people in regards to that particular thing that Constantine was no Christian, not at all, but he was a good leader. and he was shrewd. He knew what it would take to get everybody in line and working together instead of having to fight, his divided kingdom. So, his accepted brand of Christianity, so to speak, even though he had people from a lot of different sects who were arguing which books are and are not supposed to be in that canon, I think that, if Jesus speaks, for example, of a specific book, and then that book is not accepted in the canonized version, you might want to look at that book and find out why they decided to leave it out. And you're going to find some very, very intriguing things. You're going to see Christianity a little bit differently. And I invite everybody to keep an open mind when it comes to your spirituality. Don't accept anything anybody says. Not me, not anybody. You're responsible for your own journey. You have certain guides, people who try to help you, and I'm trying to do that and be that for people. And this is why I'm trying to incorporate things from a more well-rounded perspective and not just singularly from the Norse perspective. Although I have a great deal of respect, I have blood, all throughout all of Europe and the Middle East and so on. So, my ancestors got around. I even have Spanish blood in me. I didn't know until fairly recently. So, anyways, we're pulling for Saturday now. Did I tell you what Ingwas means? Yeah, I did. Okay, it stands for Freyr, the masculine god, and his positive masculine attributes and so on. It doesn't mean, again, the toxic masculinity everybody keeps hearing about today to keep us divided and try to conquer us, and that's exactly what's happening in our society. It means a positive masculinity, a nurturing, but not nurturing as the feminine is known for, but one that actually protects. That's their form of nurturing, protects and shields and provides for, his family and so on. That kind of masculinity. It's positive. It's not, go get me a beer kind of masculinity. That kind of a thing. That's not what I'm talking about. That's false masculinity anyway. It's not even masculine. It's quite the opposite in many ways. But again, let's go ahead and pull for Saturday and conclude this. Try to get Saturday's energy for you. Energy for Saturday. Thank you. All right. So, Manes. But Manes, and this is the letter M in their alphabet, but it's reversed right now. Okay? Now, Manes stands for man, mankind, humanity, altruism, things of that nature in the upright. In the reverse, however, what it stands for is selfishness, uninvolved, victim, and again, egoism. That's come up more than once in this reading. Being alone, depressed, and some form of manipulation, perhaps. So we have both good and bad energies this week, but overall energy is positive. So keep that in mind and hold to that as you're going through, what we all go through, trials, tribulation in our life. We all do. Like I said, I'm going through the dark night of the soul right now, and I'm trying to keep a positive perspective. I'm trying to get back to what I started, even though I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so, and it is what it is, and you have my prayers. And if you ever want to just drop a comment down below, whatever, or if you just need somebody to listen to what it is that's going on in your life, I can't get back to you immediately. Like I said, I'm fairly limited. I charge this up with a converter that I have here, in my car, but it takes a long time to recharge my phone up. And these videos, they really suck the energy right out of my phone. So, but that completes the energy for this week. Overall, it's positive, but you are going to have, just like last week, some mountains to climb to get there. Just keep a stiff upper lip, keep your chest out, head up, and you'll get through this just like I will. I mean, I will share some of the things that I've had to go through and endure so that I can encourage others who, may not experience the same level of this type of thing. and it'll encourage you to be strong. Okay. All right, then I will go ahead and download this and try to post it. And if not today, then tomorrow. And I'll also go ahead and pull a reading for tomorrow as well and do the same. Okay. Until then, you guys have a great rest of the day. Hope you enjoyed your weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye.